everyone, it's Tanny Games here. Welcome back to the channel. We are here with a recording of my old account's Dreamsnap. I almost forgot what it was there. Yeah, my old account Dreamsnap. Now, I thought I would record this just to make a video so you can see my process for this. I did try to get fairly decent tags on this one. I am going back now to using high tags and things like that on this account because I need the moonstones. I don't want to be shortchanging myself of moonstones. I feel like I've done enough of a test of how the dream snaps work, and I mean, I knew in my own head that tags matter. Gameloft admit that tags matter. You know, the game itself says that it has an impact, so I just guess I wanted to do it so I could say I've done it. I've done a few tests now on tags and things like that, and to me it's pretty conclusive. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give that a test and a try and just see, yeah, give it a go. And now I'm kind of like, okay, let's not sabotage my moonstone amount. Let's go back to earning moonstones. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So it did take me quite a while to decide how I wanted my outfit because I genuinely kind of wanted to make a nice looking outfit, but I also yeah, I didn't like a lot of the tagged options, and because this is my new account, it doesn't have all the things that my main account has, so I was really struggling to put together something that I liked. I felt the fit of the trousers was awkward, and then trying to pair it with some of the jackets, it was just a bit of a nightmare. So I do spend quite a bit of time going back and forth over what I'm gonna wear and what I'm gonna choose. I didn't fully max out the tags. I do believe there's probably a couple of other tags I could have got in. I probably could have got in an extra necklace tag. I probably could have got in a tag for socks potentially, I think. So I think there were some places where I did miss out slightly on the tags, but I think I did quite good. I think I end up with 11 and 11 on the 2 required tags. 1 on the glasses, of course, because that's the max, and then I think I was only on 7 for the Beauty and the Beast tag. That one wasn't too high, but the max you can get in terms of tags, I think, is about 14 or 15 on an outfit challenge. That is as far as you can go because of the limited categories. You literally can't go above that amount, I think. It's somewhere around 14 and 15. Basically, however many categories of clothing types there are is kind of the max, apart from with necklaces, which counts twice because you can have 2 layers of necklaces, so you have to count that category twice. But otherwise, kind of each category is the max pretty much. So yeah, that was kind of as far as you can kind of go. So I always aim for about 10 as my goal for an outfit challenge. I always try and go for above 10. So if I get above 10, I'm generally happy. So I think 11 isn't too bad, though it would have been nice to have increased the Beauty and the Beast tag slightly. But I think overall, I'm hoping that will get me back into the 4K club. I think my photo is good enough as well. I mean, there's a couple of slight changes I would have made. I would have liked it if my character was smiling a bit more, but that is what it is. But I think overall, I think it's quite a decent snap. I think it's well lit. I think it's nicely composed. I think the outfit is clear. So I think it's kind of deserving of 4K, but we'll just have to wait and see. As always, you never know with Dreamsnap, so we'll just have to wait and see. Now, you may also notice with this video, this is all recorded in real time effectively. I have cut out a couple of bits, not much though. It's usually when I'm just waiting for Belle to do a pose, because I do include her in the snap. Yeah, just kind of like the bits where I'm kind of like waiting and things like that. But for the most part, the length of this video is how long it took me to do this snap. So it didn't actually take me too long. which I think is kind of because of the fact that it's indoors. That is one little trick I would say personally, or one thing that I've noticed, is I tend to find indoor snaps are quicker to do than outdoor snaps. I think that's because there's kind of less variables and less space to decorate. When you do a snap outdoors, you have to clear up all the mess, you have to, you know, clear night fawns, dig up holes or whatever. You have to get rid of the forageables and stuff like that, and then you've got to decorate the scene. You might have to hide away certain other biomes so they don't show up in your snap. You've got to figure out the lighting, because you have to make sure that your character's either facing the sun, or it's day enough, or, you know, there's so many different variables with an outdoor snap. Of course, dealing with villagers as well. You might not want villagers in your snap, and then you've got to try and get rid of those. Like, I do think there's a lot more work that goes into an outdoor snap than an indoor. An indoor is very controlled. You have a very limited space that you have to deal with. Obviously, in terms of villagers, you only have who you hang out with pretty much with you. Obviously, there are cases like if you're tracking a quest, you can bring an extra villager in with you, but it's a lot more controlled. So I do think indoor snaps are easier in that sense, because there's kind of less to do. There is just less to do. So if you are strapped on time and you don't have a pre-established build in your valley that you could sort of utilize for a snap, try and do it indoors, because I think it will go a lot quicker. Obviously, it depends on the challenge. If the challenge is something related to the outdoors, like a beach day, you would want to do that snap on the beach. There's no arguments about that. Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis, but if it's something like this, you know, certainly doing an indoor snap, I think, can be beneficial. I went through and tried to find a wallpaper that I liked. I wanted something that kind of had a bit of a, I want to say like a dark academia kind of vibe, something that felt a bit cozy, something that felt a bit warm. So I ended up going with the Tiana wallpaper. The Tiana wallpaper is probably one of my favourite wallpapers in game. I do think it's a very pretty looking wallpaper, and it definitely has those kind of cozy vibes, whilst not being too kind of like rustic, which is what I didn't want. I didn't want it to feel too rustic. I did also want to decorate with quite a few of the Beauty and the Beast furniture. I kind of wanted, well, because I included Belle in this snap, I did want it to kind of feel like a library for Belle, if that makes sense, like somewhere she would enjoy. So to me, it just made sense to use a lot of the Beauty and the Beast furniture pieces. I just thought it went together better. I wanted to use a desk, because obviously that tends to be a thing that I see in a lot of libraries. Not that I go to libraries much anymore, but I remember going to libraries when I was younger, and there was always tables for reading at, for studying at, for doing work on and things like that. So I wanted to include a desk as well as some seating areas. So I used the window seats that I think you get from Belle's Friendship Reward, because I think the bookcases are from Scrooge. And then it was a case of just finding some seating that I thought would match or go alongside. Of course, originally I was looking at the Beauty and the Beast one, but I did extend out of that and have a look at the general seating options, because to me it didn't matter if a chair was from the Beauty and the Beast collection or not. I just wanted it something to kind of match and feel in keeping with the scene. And also I had in my mind that I wanted to capture a snapshot of Belle sat down reading and stuff like that. That was something I knew I wanted, so I had to make sure I had seats for it. I also included this yellow bench, one because yellow is like the colour of Belle, you know, it's very synonymous with her, so I thought the yellow would be nice, but I thought it also added a nice pop of colour as well. So I hope that looks nice. Does, like, you know, sometimes when you make design choices and you're just like, does it look aesthetic? Is it a bit too much? Like with the blues and the pinks, is it too much colour? I don't know. but I think it looked alright. I did also place a chair, a green chair, because I thought it would match with the other seats. I do get rid of that. I do get rid of it. I realised having a sofa in front of two other sort of almost like sofas in a sense, you know, those window seats, I realised it just looked a bit odd. So I did decide to get rid of that. I decided it wasn't needed. Of course I decorate with loads of books. On a bookworm challenge, you have to have books. I am telling you now, if I start voting and I see a snap and it doesn't have a book in it, I am not voting for it. I am not voting for it. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a couple of posts in a Facebook group the other day, and someone submitted a photo and they were like, oh, what do you like this? Do you think it's good? And I was like thinking, where's the books? Where's the books? It's a bookworm challenge. How can you do this without books? I just think for me that feels like the most obvious thing to include. I don't want to be too harsh, but I feel like if something's so on the nose like that, it's fairly obvious what you have to include. And I would say the books aren't too difficult to get in Scrooge. Like, fair enough if you are a very new player, a brand new player. Totally understandable. I had it. I did. There is a video on my channel on my old account, like the quest playthrough, and I do a Dreamsnap, and I do it within like the first couple of hours of like having the game. I think it's like the 3rd episode or something like that of the series, but technically it was in like the first day. So I was very limited on what I had. I had to make use of the natural environment, but I would also appreciate that I was new and I wouldn't be expecting much from it. I wouldn't be expecting like 4K, because I would just know that, hey, I'm brand new. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But by the next week, if I've logged in daily and bought out Scrooge's shop daily, I should be in a better position for a Dreamsnap the following week kind of thing. But that's the thing, like, you know, if you're new to the game, that's just the way it goes, you know. And there are now, like, there's groups, like in Discord, there's social media groups that will have people opening up their Scrooge stores for newer players and things like that. So if you are a newer player, there's lots of ways you can get caught up very, very quickly kind of thing. That's just my 2 cents on that anyway. That's just my 2 cents. Yeah, that's how. Also, another thing with the books, I just realised, technically when you start the game, Merlin has a couple of book piles around his house. If you pick those up in furniture mode, you will actually gain those as an item, so then you can go into Scrooge's and ask to buy them again. So actually from like day 1 you can get books. So that, to me, there's no excuse. It was a bit like the forest challenge. I was seeing so many snaps where people didn't have like trees, and I'm just like, trees are free, they're base game, everyone has access to trees. There's no way anyone can't do a forest kind of thing. At least that's my thoughts, but I'm sorry, I'm ranting. You guys are gonna hate this, I'm so sorry. This was me testing out the position for my character. I kind of wanted to make it look like I was reaching for a book. And I realised I couldn't do it on the left side because of the hand, which has the tools and which one kind of releases the tool. So I ended up changing it and trying to do it on the other side. And then I realised I can't get the heights to work. I can't get my hand to look like it's reaching at the pile of books. So then I decided to reach at the, the bookcase in the corner. Which, I don't know why I put down this bookcase in the brown colour. It doesn't match with anything else in the room. So I do eventually change that. I swap that out and get more of the blue ones, or at least one of the blue ones. Because I was just like, why is this brown? What is the relevance of having a different bookcase? And I knew in my head, I was like, this just looks weird. It just looks wrong. So I did change that. That does get changed. So for anyone who's screaming at the screen like, oh, that looks hideous, I know it does. I know. I change it. And then of course I did a bit of tweaking, because obviously when you reposition your character in a room based on sort of a setup that you initially had in mind, sometimes you have to move items around just to kind of get a more full looking image, to frame the image better and things like that. So I do move around the piles of books quite a lot. You'll see me do that. I go in and out of furniture mode quite a few times just to move items about. And you will also see when I'm snapping, like taking the photo for the Dreamsnap, a lot of the times I will go in and snap it one after the other, because it is very hard to get the timing right with this position, because basically I'm trying to get it so that my character is reaching, but then you've got to contend with her blinking, which is a bit frustrating. You don't want to make it look like her eyes are closed, so the timing there is awkward. And then of course, you know, it's dealing with Belle, making sure she looks right and stuff like that. So there was lots of variables, so you'll find that I do take a lot of different snaps. And that's one thing I would say, you know, I think I very rarely get my snap on my first go. Pretty much always I take multiple photos, and I'll often submit quite a few photos before I land on the final image, just because of the fact that I think it does take a few tries. You know, you've got to get your timings right and things like that. So I do tweak that a bit. I did kind of like this image. I knew I wasn't going to keep it fully because I do want to have Belle sat down and reading, but it also gives me an idea for what I might be looking at in terms of decor, making sure that there aren't loads of blank spaces and stuff like that. Like, you don't need an item in every spot, but just to have like a quarter of your picture with nothing in it just aesthetically doesn't look nice. That's just generally, that tends to be facts. You know, I'm not a professional photographer, but most of them I think would confirm that you don't want, when they create photographs, everything that's in the photograph is deliberate. It is something that they want to have within the scene, I would say. Willing to have photographers correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that when they're taking their photographs, they're, you know, thinking about every aspect that's on display and whether that's something that they do want to showcase in their photos. Or at least that's how I see it. Well, like I said, I'm probably wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. So I do tweak a lot, you know, especially with changing positions slightly and adjusting the camera angles. I just want to make sure that there isn't like half of my snap empty and looking boring. I do also add some windows in. I did want a bit more lighting to brighten up my character, but also depending on what windows you use, they often have kind of like lines from the window panes. No, it's not from the panes, from the frame. From the frames, they'll often have like lines and stuff, and I just thought that might add a little bit extra to the scenery, to the snap. You know, like I said, just improves the lighting a bit, creates some shadows and some highlights, which I wanted to do. So that's something that I also included as well. I did worry a few times throughout this snap process because there's a lot of times where Belle is just standing still and I'm like, I did like unhang out with her, didn't I? I did choose not to hang out with her, and I'm like, is she gonna do anything? And then she'll move, or I'll come out of furniture mode and she'll start talking and I'll be like, okay, it's fine, it's all good. And then it was just a case of a waiting game. I actually set up the green chair on the left for her to sit in. She ends up not sitting in that seat. She's like, no, I don't like that one, I'm not gonna sit there. But she does sit down and she does get out of books, so I'm very, very happy about that. I do also add in a table. I add in a table with the rose. Again, this is another thing that sometimes as you're decorating, you'll tweak things, you'll go, okay, actually, you know what, I don't actually kind of like that, or I want to change this setup and things like that. So I think when you're going through these processes, you know, sometimes it is a case of changing things about, making additions and stuff like that, and yeah, just tweaking as you go. I generally, when I go into a Dreamsnap, I have a vision of what I want it to look like. I have an idea, but I won't know exactly everything, like every minute placement of every single item. I won't know that. I just knew, for instance, like with this build, I was like, okay, I want a library. So let's build something with the walls. I wanted those window seats because I think they look nice personally. And I knew that I could kind of tie them up with the blue bookcases and things like that. So there were certain aspects that I had in mind that I knew I wanted to do, but there's a lot of minor things like the placement of each book, you know, the placement of the chairs, what chairs I use, all of that I just kind of wing it. Like I said, there'll be certain items I'll know I want to use, and then there'll be others that just, it comes as I build the scene. So yeah, I do pull out the rows, and then I have to I have to struggle to get a table that will fit it. This is something that I think I would like, but I don't think there's a way for Gameloft to do it, if I'm honest. I would love a way to pick out a table or sort the tables by like size, so you could like pick tables that were like a 2x2 or a 4x4. Like, that would just make things a bit easier for me, because I do spend quite a bit of time just pulling out tables, because I don't always remember off the top of my head like the sizes of them. There are some tables that I know just because I use them so often, but there's a lot of tables that I don't use very often, and then it's like, wait, how big is this? How much can I fit in this space? I do end up going for one of my favourite tables in game, which is the golden octopus table. I just think, one, it kind of looks very elegant. Two, because it's glass, it kind of fits into almost any scene, because it almost blends in a sense. Like, it's not a colour that's contrasting. It's not a colour that's going to clash, you know, it's see-through kind of thing. So I do think it's kind of beneficial in that sense, because yeah, it just kind of blends in. You can have it with any kind of colours, with any kind of setup. Obviously, if you go for like a very rustic build, it might stand out a bit there because it is a bit more elegant, but I do think it worked in this setting, and it was a great way to get the rows on display. So again, just adding in those little Beauty and the Beast touches. I don't think it's mandatory to have a Beauty and the Beast element this challenge. I certainly don't think it's required at all, but just because I was using Belle in the scene and I kind of wanted to have that Belle influence, I did include it. So as I said, not mandatory. Certainly when I'm voting, I won't specifically be looking for Beauty and the Beast themed snaps. I won't be looking for Belle included, because to me it's just a bookworm challenge. So for me, the focus is on the books. That's specifically my kind of interpretation for this challenge. But obviously everyone's going to have their own interpretations and ways of viewing it. And I think that's what makes Dreamsnaps kind of not unreliable. What's the word I want to use? Like hard to judge in a sense, because you don't know how people are going to vote or interpret the challenge. There's always going to be a bit of a variety and a bit of a, what's it called when something's kind of like a variable that you can't control. There's a word I'm trying to think of and I can't think of it right now, but there is always that sort of element that you can't control with Dreamsnaps. And like, for instance, when I mentioned about the forest one, as I said, when I was voting, there were so many snaps that didn't have a forest. So all those people that didn't do a forest in their snaps, presumably when they're voting, are going to be looking for something very different compared to what I am. When I've did the brief bit of voting for the Lost Forest challenge was looking for trees. If I couldn't see trees, it was a fail in my interpretation. But obviously, because there were so many snaps like that, so many people don't think that was necessary, so they will skew the vote differently. So there is always an element of something that you can't control, always an element of something that, you know, you just don't know which way it's going to go. You don't know. It's just something that you can't control. So although I did include Belle in this kind of aspect, I don't know if I'm including Belle in my other snaps. I don't think I will. I don't think she's necessary, but like I said, there may be others that think differently. Now we pretty much got to the waiting aspect of this challenge. I was pretty much just kind of waiting for Belle to do her thing, to sit down and read, and things like that. That's what I wanted, was for her to get a pose where she's looking at her book, so it looked like she was doing something in the library and then I was doing something. I wanted that because I wanted it to kind of feel like a candid moment. I do prefer a little bit when dream snaps kind of feel that little bit more candid than staged. I just think they tend to, I don't know, there's just something I enjoy about them. So I was literally just waiting for that. And then it does take me a few attempts. I do hit the tall button a few times to try and get the snap, you know, where she's not blinking and stuff like that. Eventually I get one. She does look a bit grumpy. She doesn't look very happy, but it is what it is. It was something. So you can see here it took me a few tries, but I think overall I'm quite happy with it. I got Belle looking at her book. The tags are all right. Yeah, so I think overall I was happy. I did have a bit of a panic because when I went out and went to check the snap, it said I was offline. So I am very nervous in case that has a bit of an impact. I really don't want it to, but literally you don't know. You don't know how it's going to go. I have got this recording, of course, so, you know, if Gameloft want to say you haven't submitted it, I have recorded it. You can see it submitted in the end. But yeah, this gave me a bit of a panic. I was quite nervous about this. Eventually I do connect and I do see that the snap is there, which was a bit of a relief. But yeah, it was a bit of a panic to begin with, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, let me know what you think about this snap in the comments down below. Are you including Belle in your dream snap this week? You'll have to let me know as well. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, if you did, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Disney Dreamlight Valley content. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys!